My uncle stole my grandmother's restaurant while I was deployed and now demands I save his failed business. Uncle stole my inheritance while I was deployed to Afghanistan at 22. I'd worked at grandmother's restaurant since I was 12, and she promised it would be mine when she passed. When her Alzheimer's got bad, uncle moved in claiming he'd take care of her, which was ridiculous since he'd never visited before she got sick. Uncle brought his lawyer friend to her confused state and had her sign a new will 2 weeks before she died. Either sign this or die knowing your grandson abandoned you. Grandmother couldn't even remember my name by then. I found out at the funeral when the lawyer read the will in front of everyone. Uncle sold the restaurant to developers within a month for $2.8 million. When I went through her things, I found records of 115 calls she tried to make to my base. Uncle had been blocking them all. 3 months living in my car taught me more about survival than Afghanistan ever did. Uncle had spread word through the industry that I was unstable, violent, a thief who'd tried to manipulate my dying grandmother. No restaurant would hire me within 500 miles. Finally found work washing dishes in a dive 3 states away, using a fake name, keeping my head down. The owner was a Korean war vet named Park. He caught me sleeping in the storage room one night, and instead of firing me, he handed me a beer. Park taught me everything Uncle never wanted me to know. Real business, real cooking, connections with immigrant families who actually understood loyalty. Saved for 2 years sleeping on Park's office couch until I could buy a food truck. That truck turned into a restaurant by the time I was 28, then 3 more, then 10. By 37, I owned 23 restaurants across 5 states and was worth $40 million. Kept my name out of everything, stayed in the shadows, just someone who'd learned to build something from nothing. Uncle, meanwhile, had blown through grandmother's money in 3 years. Gambling, failed ventures, his 4th bankruptcy filing. My cousin sent me the court documents thinking I'd find them funny. I didn't. I just filed them away and kept building. 15 years of silence. Then Uncle walked into my flagship restaurant during the Friday dinner rush. He'd aged badly. His skin had that yellow tint of a failing liver, belly straining against a shirt that hadn't fit in years, thinning hair combed over in desperate strips. Behind him shuffled his wife, carrying a folder like it contained gold. They cornered me in my office before security could intercept. Uncle needed me to buy his steakhouse for $5 million. The place was hemorrhaging money, worth maybe $200,000 if you were feeling generous, but family helps family, he said. I owed him for inspiring my success. When I told him I needed time to consider it, he got aggressive. Started showing up at my other restaurants, telling my customers I'd stolen recipes from my grandmother. Called my investors claiming the whole empire was built on fraud. Contacted food critics with stories about my PTSD making me dangerous in the kitchen. Left voicemails saying grandmother would roll over in her grave knowing how selfish I'd become. His wife emailed me photos of their eviction notices, like their failures were my responsibility. 3 days of this, and I wasn't sleeping anymore. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw grandmother in that hospital bed, reaching for a phone that would never ring. My managers were calling constantly about Uncle disrupting service, scaring customers, threatening staff. The panic attacks reminded me of war. My therapist increased my sessions, worried about the strain. That's when I learned Uncle's foreclosure was happening in 72 hours. The bank was seizing his restaurant, his house, everything. I made 2 phone calls. First to my lawyer for the restraining order I should have gotten years ago. Second to my property acquisition team. The auction for Uncle's building was tomorrow. I wanted it, not to save him, but to watch him understand what it felt like to lose everything you thought was yours. Park had taught me patience, but grandmother had taught me that some people only learn through consequences. I arrived at Uncle's steakhouse as the foreclosure crew was loading the industrial freezers onto trucks. Uncle was screaming at the bank representative, spit flying, face purple with rage. His wife was throwing their personal items into their beat-up sedan, crying and cursing. Then Uncle saw me. His whole demeanor changed instantly like flipping a switch. Suddenly there were tears, arms outstretched, calling me his favorite nephew. Thank God you're here, he said. Family doesn't let family end up on the street. I waited until he got close enough to smell the desperation and bourbon on his breath. Then I handed him the restraining order. You stole my life while I was defending this country, I told him. You turned grandmother against me, sold her legacy for casino chips, and now you want me to save you? Uncle's mask dropped. Started screaming that I was always grandmother's favorite, that I'd manipulated her with my sob stories about wanting to carry on the family tradition. His wife joined in, shrieking about lawyers and lawsuits while the foreclosure crew loaded the last of their equipment. I told him I'd bought the building at auction that morning, would be tearing it down next week to build something grandmother would have actually been proud of. He called me a war criminal, a psychopath, said I'd killed innocent people overseas and now I was killing family. The bank representative looked uncomfortable. The foreclosure crew stopped working to stare. I turned to August and we walked to the car while Uncle screamed threats that got swallowed by the distance.